Hello, I'm Tyler, and in this video, we will be exploring DNS fundamentals. DNS is the domain name system, and what that does is it allows IP addresses to obtain a human-readable name. So instead of going to Google and typing in 8.8.8.8, we could just type in google.com, and it will then send us to Google servers so we can access Google. So we're going to test this by creating an A record, which is an address record, for something that we're going to call mainframe, for example. So right now, mainframe does not exist. So we're going to go ahead and open up PowerShell. Now that PowerShell is opened up, we're going to attempt to ping mainframe. Mainframe is a word that was made up for this project, and you can see that it doesn't actually exist on the DNS server. Ping request could not find the host mainframe. We're going to also try NSLOOKUP. What NSLOOKUP does is it allows us to put a domain name in. So for example, google.com, and it will identify the servers and the IP addresses that are associated with that domain name. So we're going to try to attempt NSLOOKUP for mainframe. And we see that it just goes to nothing. It can't find mainframe because it's a non-existent domain. So now we are on the domain controller virtual machine, and we are going to create an A record for mainframe. So the first thing we're going to do is open up DNS. And here in DC1, we're going to go to for lookup zones, mydomain.com. And here we could see the A records that are hosted on mydomain.com. So we're going to get the private IP address for the domain controller. We'll find that by looking at ipconfig/all. And we see here that the private IP address is 10.0.0.4. So we'll now return to the DNS manager, right click, and we're going to go to new host. We will call this mainframe, and we'll put the private IP address of the domain controller. Now we'll click add host. The host record was successfully created. So now we're going to test the A record by trying to ping mainframe again here on client 1. And now we're actually getting a reply because the A record has established the word mainframe to the private IP address of the domain controller, which will also give it access to the DNS server because the domain controller is the DNS server for this domain. And we can also try NSLOOKUP mainframe. And now we see that it has resolved to mainframe.mydomain.com. And the IP address is 10.0.0.4, which is the private IP address of the domain controller. We are back at the domain controller, and we're going to change the IP address of the A record for mainframe. And we're going to change that to 8.8.8.8, which is Google's IP address. Click apply, and OK. Now we're going to attempt to ping mainframe again. This is on the client 1 virtual machine. And even though we changed the IP address, we see that it's 10.0.0.4. How will we fix this? We're going to run PowerShell as an administrator. And first, we're going to see the DNS cache here. So this is all of the IP addresses that are stored in memory of the DNS. And here we could see in the DNS cache, mainframe is stored as 10.0.0.4. So logged into PowerShell as an administrator, we're going to be able to flush the DNS cache. So now that the DNS cache has been flushed, we're going to see what happens whenever we ping mainframe again. And we now see that instead of 10.0.0.4, it has switched to our update, which is 8.8.8.8. Now back on the domain controller, we're going to create a CNAME record. And what a CNAME record is it allows one human readable name to be connected to another. So what we're going to do is right click and go to new alias, CNAME, and we're going to call this name search. Well, we're going to connect search to google.com. We're going to click OK. And now back on the client virtual machine, we're going to test the CNAME record that we just created. So we're going to ping search, and we could see now that is pinging google.com because we created the CNAME record for search to be google.com. And we can also do NS lookup, search. And we can see that whenever we NS lookup search, we get google.com.